the 5 real reasons why we have a worker shortage. It's been difficult to pinpoint exactly what the root cause has been when thinking about the labor shortage that's affecting the US and the global economy. But what we've done here at Daggerfinn is we've distilled down and tried to capture as much of the pie as we could when looking at the data and looking at the trends to determine what the real reasons are that we're having a worker shortage. And we've tried to pull as many reasons as we can to into our list here. And so the first is an obvious one, and it's one that I think it's often forgotten when you think about the workforce. But at least in the US, there have been north of 770,000 deaths from COVID-19 since, let's say, March of 2020. And regardless of what fraction of that 770,000 are working population age, it's still a significant chunk of human capital that we're missing from the labor market and the labor pool and the talent pool. And so that would be, of course, one reason why we're seeing this delta between participation and the number of open jobs in the economy right now. And the second, of course, has been this marked increase in the number of retirees. And this has been a function of a few different things. What the pandemic did was it accelerated trends that were already in play, and it also pulled forward the future a little bit, in that because the way that we stimulated the economy by putting money into the system, what that did was it kind of floated the markets, which gave people a bit more cushion with their retirements, especially if you were coming to the end of your career where you were maybe only planning on working 2, 3, 4 years. What that did was it allowed people to retire early. And of course, with the trauma and the shock of something like a global health pandemic, people probably thought differently about the last few years of their working relationship and what that meant. So you had a lot of people retire early, and those are typically the hardest to pull back into the workforce because they've mentally made the decision to leave. And so you've got, between the number of deaths from COVID and then the marked increase in the number of retirees, you've got a big swath of the talent pool there that's missing and most won't return to the economy. The third is dual income households that are leaning on one income. You're seeing this trend getting a little bit more coverage in the media right now with individuals who've maybe taken on entrepreneurship as a result of COVID or things like that. And you've had families that were previously dual income choose to live on one income because maybe their cost basis has come down, especially over the last 18 months when people haven't had to make rent payments, mortgage payments, school loan payments. That families are finding that, okay, we can live on one income, and the second individual in the household can look after the children or something. And so once you get used to that a little bit, you'll learn to live on the lower cost basis, and then dual income households become one income households in perpetuity. And that's one of the areas where we're seeing a weakness, or at least in terms of getting people to come back to work. The fourth is definitely an area of the economy that isn't talked about a lot, and it's individuals who've left the workforce after maybe falling sick from COVID or other reasons and are choosing not to return. And again, the macroeconomic or the economic conditions right now are such that you can actually probably lower your cost basis. There's policy and regulatory implications as well that mean people don't have to make the payments that they used to, can live at a lower cost basis. And if you've had an illness and maybe you haven't got your entire full capacity of health back, maybe you choose not to come back to the workforce. And we can't discount the number of people that are in this position because of the number of people who contracted COVID-19 over the last 18 months. And then finally, the fifth reason that we think that there's a worker shortage right now is what's happening with the psyche and the mentality around work, and how this is affecting entry-level workers who, when we're seeing a lot of coverage in the media where they're just unwilling to settle for what they feel is low-wage work or the jobs that they don't want to pursue. And so what you get is then a big gap at the bottom of the market, or in terms of wage work. And if that's the case, then you're missing a large portion of how businesses do business. The consumer-facing roles are not seen as attractive to workers, and if entry-level workers, typically a little bit greener, coming out of college, for example, choose not to enter the workforce, you then also miss out on a large swath of workers there who are delaying their entry into the workforce. And so you've got, the top end, which is the number of retirees increasing, entry-level workers unwilling to do the entry-level jobs, and then dual income households leaning on one income. You can start to see how the puzzle that used to fit together to make sure that there was a reasonable level of employment, and there's a percentage, of course, the unemployment rate, which looks reasonable by most metrics, but that doesn't typically cover a lot of what we've talked about here, which are individuals who've left the workforce or who never entered the workforce, and they don't get accounted for in those numbers. So it looks probably healthier than it is. If you look around any city at the moment, you'll see for hire signs everywhere. And a lot of companies that have gone out of business, we've had conversations here at Daggerfinn with individuals and businesses who are operating at human capital levels where they can't even break even. They can't actually, for example, manufacture the number of goods that they need to break even, or service the number of clients that they need to break even. And so they there's a difficult decision there on the business owner level, whether to stay in business. And as these businesses leave, you start to see displacement of workers again there too. So there's a lot of issues right now around work and the worker shortage, and that affects many different levels of the workforce. And so here are the 5 reasons, at least, that we think there is a worker shortage, and we've compiled this from as many data sources and as much on the ground, kind of boots on the floor observations as we can here at Daggerfinn. So if you enjoyed the insights in this video, please consider hitting the like button and then also subscribing to the channel so that you get these insights as they come out.